Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indie Creative Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent comics. I'm one of your hosts, Angel, with John Pepe.
How's it going, Angel?
It is going. You know what I just thought about in this one particular moment as I'm doing the intro? Like the last couple of intros, I completely forgot to say that we were all about independent comics.
Oh.
It just dawned on me. See, it was like so lucid that you didn't even,
because it's implied. It's there. It's in the name. It's what we do.
It is, right? We try to make it so easy. Indie Creative Comics Podcast. I wonder what they're about. They're going to be talking about Superman today. No, you fuckers. Guys, welcome to another episode.
Though they do slip in. Those big two, they do slip in.
They do. I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing something about the big two. I'm talking about tropes and stuff like that, so they slip in and out. But yeah, if you're new to the podcast, this is John and I. We love all comics, all types of mediums of comics. Well, a comic would be a medium actually, but all types of comics. So everything. Oh man,
we like small comics, large comics, medium comics.
No. Don't say that, because those freaking prestige style oh my god. Anything where that's not going to fit in my short or long box, you can go fuck yourself. Because
that's why they have magazine boxes, Angel.
Dude, and I have one, and it's full already, and I refuse to get another one because I was getting so many Judge Dredd magazines,
right?
Which I love, but I was just like, I can't do it anymore. This oversized stuff. Just be a regular comic, please. Yeah, I can't. But yes, before I went off on my tangents, this is we're all about independent comics, small press, individual creators or creator-owned content. Anything that's not the big two really is what we talk about here. And in this particular segment, John and I actually pick up books the week before. So Wednesday's New Comic Book Day. If you've been under a rock for the last 50 years. No, when did New Comic Book Day actually start? Because it switched. It was Tuesdays for a long time.
It was Tuesdays for a while. Back when I was a kid, it was Fridays in the 80s.
Yes.
But I would say this Wednesday standard is at least 25 to 30 years old.
Is that Diamond's doing?
That's a good question now, because this would be before Diamond was pretty much the only game in town. That was probably about 25 years. So I'm going back now, I think early 90s, I remember. Wednesdays being a release. Like I remember, again, Capes creeping in. Superman, Death of Superman was a Wednesday release, like right before Thanksgiving. I think it was like that kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So
at least I'm thinking 35 years. Wednesdays.
At least. All right. So within the past 3 decades, Wednesdays have been new release day for new comics to come out, and I guess over those 3 decades, we've evolved. I mean, the industry's evolved a lot, especially with technology coming in and making things a lot easier for small creators, individual creators, to be able to get their stuff out there. As much as the internet is a burdensome or burdensome, or it could just be extremely toxic, there's some really good things that can come out of it as well. And I think being able to unite people that are across the ocean and do collaborations. I mean, artists that I've worked with live in Argentina, Honduras, all the way across the seas. I've worked with some colorists that were, in England, which is pretty cool. So I think that part of the internet that allows us to collaborate, especially creators, I love it. Everything else can just go burn in hell. Because it's so toxic. It's crazy.
Wait. Even the Mr. Rogers Tupac AI thing that's been going around? Because that's fun.
Wait, but even better yet. So we're talking about this AI stuff. Now we're going to go on a whole. God damn you, John. It's funny. Neil deGrasse Tyson popped up in my feed, and it's a video of him saying that he found evidence that the world was actually flat.
I've seen the thumbnail, but I didn't.
And then he pulls away, and it's the video, and he's like, "I didn't say this. This is a deep fake video." And I was like, "Holy shit!" It's getting so much better. Like if you weren't paying attention to the details, then you would almost think that it was a real video. A lot of the times, what they haven't really perfected in the AI is one, the sound. So you have sort of this fake sounding voice almost. Or the mouth area, the teeth, you can see sort of like it going in and out. So there's a couple of glitches still with a lot of this stuff. But
Objects
deep fakes
sometimes too.
with like Tom Cruise, those deep fakes, you ever seen those?
Yeah, I've seen some of those. Yeah.
Oh, they're fucking great. I mean, they look, dude. Like seriously, if you just like squint your eyes, you could swear that it was completely real. This is 2025, so imagine in the next 3 to 5 years, where that technology is going to be.
One of my favorite newer ones that I saw a couple weeks ago was somebody did Night of the Living Dead as if it was starring Elvis. It's great. It's great. He's singing songs and stuff, but like so every now and then objects are wonky. So like there's like one shot where Elvis is like beating back some zombies with his guitar, but like the guitar is like all weird and wrong. It's just
well, listen. As long as you can still send singing dinosaurs on birthdays, that's fantastic. They breathe fire from their mouth. Then I'm good. All right, so guys, welcome to another episode of the Indie Creators Comic Podcast. We do have some books for you this week. I'm really looking forward to this week as well. So you know what's coming out this week, right? Come on.
Wait. There's a few things coming out.
Come on.
You're not talking about
the Youngblood?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, finally it's a new #1 because Youngblood Deluxe was just reprinting some of the older stuff.
I think it only went up to issue 3 or 4, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
just like the first arc.
So the deluxe was kind of like teasing people or getting people into the Youngblood universe, and it's crazy because there's no middle camp when it comes to Rob Liefeld. You either love him or you just can't stand him, or you just love to not freaking stand him. And I love him. I mean, listen, I always say that Spawn was the first book that I bought on my own, even though Spawn was the second book that came out when Image was created. Youngblood was their flagship book, and I did get that book as well, but it wasn't with my own money. But yes, so we're looking back at 92, 93, right? Of Image coming into the scene.
91.
Oh, 91. Yeah.
91.
So April-ish of 91 is where Youngblood, that flagship book, came out, and it sold over 1 million copies. It was insane. I mean, these were guys that were big at the time. So you're looking at Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Eric Larson, Mark Silvestri, Jim Valentino, and then they still include Will Spartaccio because he was supposed to be part of that original group, but stuff happened and he wasn't able to fulfill. But you're talking about guys that were giants in the industry at that time who were frustrated creatively because they wanted to be able to do stuff with other people's IP or tell stories that they couldn't because you're working with other people's IP. So you get them to move away, form their own company called Image Comics. And, it's funny because there's been so many documentaries, so many interviews with these guys, but they were making money. They were making money at the big two. You look at Marvel and DC, they were making money. And, they were, because now they owned everything, they only needed a fraction of comic sales in order to make similar money that they were making with the big two. But when they first freaking launched, it was unbelievable because they weren't expecting to sell more than 150, maybe 200,000 comics, and to sell well over 1 million. And if it's your own that you created, where you don't have to pay out anything to anybody. Once it's already been done and printed and dusted, and you've done everything, then it's all pretty much profit. So we're looking at this guy. I mean, Rob Liefeld was the youngest one on the team. I think he was about 17 when he first got hired by Marvel, and then probably either in his late teens or early 20s when the Image was created, and making millions of dollars, just drawing comics with no hands or feet, mind you, and ouches galore.
He had hands and feet.
Yeah, he had hands and feet. None of his characters did. But it's funny because that's the big thing about him. But then I go back and I look at it like a lot of 90s covers or even interior art from a lot of the guys that we're talking about. And if you look at their drawings, most of the drawings, like the splash pages, those anatomy parts are cut out. Like feet and stuff, they're hidden either behind like clouds or dust or a rock or something like that. So yeah, he wasn't the only one that was doing it at the time. But Yes. So now we're what? We're 30, 40 years later. And there was a while that he lost the catalog of these characters for whatever reason, sold them out or whatever. And they were just in limbo for so long. And then there was this Italian guy that was going to try to start something up again. And I remember this whole fiasco of just him posting online, sort of not like a contest, but if you want to draw young blood for our company, send some, pages or whatever. And they actually hired some people to draw some stuff, and they had stuff that was floating out there. They just never got paid.
Yeah.
They never got paid, which is fucking insane. So, and the property is not anything like groundbreaking or anything like that. It was just really fucking cool. It was at a time where if you had a team, every team had the main leader. It had the superpowered huge person. It had the artillery person. It had a couple of hot chicks, and then somebody that could do some kind of like either magic fire or something like that. In that respects. And so, but I think what he's really, 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 really good at is just conceptual design. Like his characters were really cool to look at. He can only pretty much just draw one face. Every face you look at looks like Cable. It's all Cable everywhere. But his designs were just absolutely just outstanding. And in that era, everything was just about pouches and big muscles and stuff like that. Some of the stories, lack some luster here and there, but design was everything. And so 30 years later, we're getting a brand new story, and he's writing it, drawing it, doing it all, which is absolutely fantastic. And I've always been a huge fan. I mean, he started out when he was young, what he wanted to do, and he stood out. The thing is if you look at Rob Liefeld art, you're looking at Rob Liefeld art, where sometimes some of these guys who are drawing, and we all try to emulate different people that we grew up with or who inspired us. But if there's nothing that you do in your style that stands out, then you just fall to the wayside. Mm-hmm. It can be really pretty. Like for me, I don't understand why David Finch doesn't get more work. Because he's an incredible, incredible artist. I don't know if he's retired or he just doesn't want the work or whatever it is.
Well, again, I mean, part of it with Skinbreaker is that he has been working on this 8-issue series for the last 8 years.
Well, that's true. Okay,
and doing covers. Yes. And it's just taking him a year to do each issue. Some of these guys, though, you find that, you make your name doing interiors, and then the real money is just in doing covers now for a lot of guys, which is very, very interesting, very weird.
Well, look, that's Alex Ross, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the only interior work he did was
Marvel's Kingdom Come. And in his fully painted style, I think he used to pencil interiors at the very beginning.
Really?
And then, but then later on, a lot of works like his Justice miniseries, Dougie Braithwaite would do layouts, like he'd do pencils, and then Alex would paint over that. Basically his interior work is very minimal, with the two biggest being Marvel's and then Kingdom Come. He did a Fantastic Four graphic novel recently, but again, that's not interiors in his watercolor style. That's pencil, pen, ink, and then colors. Yeah.
But but if you name certain artists, you can just tell they're like Art Adams. If you see his style, you see his style. Todd McFarlane, you just know his style and stuff. Like Walt Patricio, I can freaking Mark Silvestri, I can see and stuff like that. There's just something that they bring to the table that's quite unique in their style, and it's been quite consistent and stuff like that. And it's crazy because like Jim Lee art, you can tell, but there's so many people that emulate him that you can see something that looks like it's Jim Lee that's not done by him. But because so many people emulate that style, it's tough.
You've made it as an artist in comics when people start emulating your style. The trick is to sort of use someone as inspiration and then make it your own. So I always look at you have Jack Kirby, right? And then you have John Byrne, who is sort of basing his base style on Jack Kirby, but then making it John Byrne, right? Then you have Jim Lee, who is basing his base style on John Byrne, but making it Jim Lee and so forth. So you kind of like it's really neat to see that progression. And then you have artists like you talk about Rob Liefeld, and the biggest, I don't want to say clone, but the biggest emulator of that style, I feel, is like Ian Churchill. Right. So much so that he would do stuff for Rob. Right. And then Churchill adjusts and develops his own signature style down the road. Greg Capullo, hired by Todd to really emulate his style on Spawn, and then Capullo just comes into his own as an artist using that as a base. So I always love that sort of evolution of styles and how people can develop their styles along the way.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of them out there.
Yeah. I mean, even Alex Ross as a kid was drawing, basically just not tracing, but copying George Perez. So then that informs his style, going forward. And then he moved into the photorealistic stuff.
Yeah. They all did it. We all did it. And, you try to emulate your favorite artists.
That's how you
learn. Hopefully, and the best ones actually use that as their base, and then their style just comes out of that.
Yep.
Which is awesome. So
one of my favorite McFarlane quotes in an interview when he was doing Amazing Spider-Man was that he really tried to out Steve Ditko as far as the poses and cramming the webs onto the suit and just and then giving it his own spin with like drawing how he drew the webs and things like that,
Right.
And then even went even crazier with the arachnid poses than Ditko did. Yeah.
Yes. But for me, I think, having Youngblood come back out, it's a little bit nostalgic and stuff like that. And I love that, he's able to continue the story and tell the story that he wants to be able to tell with the characters that he launched at a brand new company that he owns, hopefully now again, I'm hoping. But, to see Spawn, to see Savage Dragon last as long as they've lasted as, indie creations. You got Spawn going on 370 something now?
Yeah.
350 something. And then Savage Dragon is getting close to 300. Is that right?
I think that.
Or more past that.
It broke 350 not too long ago.
Okay, so yes. For me, honestly, I would have been super excited if a team book. No, I think you're wrong.
I think you might. It might be under 300. I think.
Yes,
right.
It should be getting there though, because I know that it wasn't coming out as often as it did.
Savage Dragon essentially is a title right now. I feel that is existing on Eric's sheer force of will alone.
I think so too. But what I'm saying is that individual characters lasted. They lasted the test of time, and I think it would have been really cool to have sort of like an indie or creator owned team last as long, which would have been cool. So if we would have had like another X-Men that was sort of like their own thing, and I think Youngblood probably out of all of those early books that came out really had the shot. And I think if history would have been a little bit different where they didn't get sold off, that they could probably be in their 300 and something issue right now. So I think what's happening with this is it's I don't know if it's a reboot. I think it's a continuation of that 90s story. But also I think legacy numbering is going to come into this as well. I don't remember what issue he said, but whatever issue ends up being 100 issues of Youngblood is where they're going to start the legacy numbering, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cheating, but it's cool. But I'm excited. So yeah, so for this Wednesday, and there's so many covers, dude, I had to hold back. And I was like, I collect, right? So I collect art covers, or I collect artists. So for the most part, Jenny Frison, who I love, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld. Who's the other dude? I'm just forgetting his name right now. The guy from Suiciders. Bermejo.
Oh, right.
And Braham, and then Art Germ. So those are the main ones that I collect. There could be so many more that I can collect, but I have to limit myself, else I'm going to be broke. And then recently, freaking, I talk about it like I'm in love with him, but I'm not. Daniel Warren Johnson came onto the scene, and dude, his covers are fantastic. the Transformer ones. He had one for Youngblood and stuff like that. And I was just like, if I do this now, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole, and I don't want to. So I resisted. So I only got the Rob Liefeld covers.
I like one of my favorite variants on that is, for the Youngblood is the Scotty Young cover, because it's like the character, you know, Scotty drew the character, but like behind him is like this big sheet of paper that just says Scotty Young like in big letters behind it.
Yeah, and I love his art too. And it was a point that I almost started to collect this stuff, and I was just like, "There's no way," because his back catalog is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yes, I would have been living on the streets.
And that's somebody
Scotty
again.
Young's.
That's somebody who had a real almost Bill Sienkiewicz influence style when he started, and then morphed into this sort of trademark style he has now, which is very different.
Yeah, it's extremely, but yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, so I'm excited. So definitely we're going to be reviewing that and talking it up next week and stuff like that. But we do have books from this previous Wednesday that we're going to be talking about. But before we get there, just really quickly, we're excited. Yep. Project Shadow Breed live on Kickstarter, projectshadowbreed.com. You can go there. We've got just a little over a month, and we're like about halfway with our goal, which I'm super excited about. We're going to have Justin on probably within the next week or so.
Cool.
Who is the creator of Project Shadow Breed and is the other half of Indie Comic Creators. So we're going to have him on so that we can talk up some Project Shadow Breed stuff, which would be absolutely fantastic. But if you want to support the campaign, go over to projectshadowbreed.com, and it'll take you right to the Kickstarter. You will not be disappointed. We're really excited about this reboot. I don't think you'll be disappointed with that. So that'll be fantastic. All right, so that brings us to the books and reviews. So I think we have about 3 of them for you this week. So John, why don't you get started first?
Sure. Angel, did you know that the past is a ghost that will devour you whole? That is according to Crownsville, issue 1 from Oni Press. Yes, just says it right up top there. So this is Crownsville. It is a 5-issue miniseries from Oni.
Nice.
It is written by Rodney Barnes, illustrated by Aaliyah Bonetti. It is lettered by Marshall Dillon, which is, I think, my new favorite name in comics. Designed by Sarah Rockwell, edited by Chris Robinson and Matt Dreyer. Special thanks to Estelle Butler, Madness author Antonia Hilton, and historian Janice Hayes Williams. And I point that out because Crownsville is actually a real place. Crownsville was a mental institution that was in Maryland, in Baltimore, Maryland, from 1911 to 2004. And Crownsville was established to treat African Americans with mental illness, kind of reading from the inside cover copy here, just in brief. And it was apparently a hellhole. These patients were very much mistreated, and it took them almost 100 years to shut down this hospital because of the horrible conditions. And nearly everybody who was admitted into Crownsville died within the asylum. They believe there's more than 1,800 bodies that still remain buried on the grounds. And so that is your backdrop. You have a historical backdrop for a fictional tale that is following 3 characters. And this plays on a lot of great sort of horror tropes, or I know a big thing in paranormal investigation world. They love to investigate these old asylums because they feel the residual energy or spirits that exist there are sorry about that are rife for encounters and catching these EVPs and things like that, if you know anything about that world. So this sort of uses that horror backdrop against a real asylum that existed. Your first scene, you basically have so even though the place is shut down, there's still a security guard, that watches over so people don't break in and do shenanigans. And you start with a security guard who's, it's a late night shift and he's reading the paper, and a toy truck comes rolling by and he hears children laughing. He goes to investigate, and wouldn't you know it, he is found hanging from the rafters the next day by one of our three lead protagonists that we follow. This man who it is his first day on the job as a security guard, and the first thing he discovers is the guy whose shift he's relieving hanging from the rafters. He is very sensitive to what is going on there. So he also, sees the toy truck, hears the voices, all on his first day, right? And you kind of get a sense that he is either remembering something from someone's past in the asylum, or he himself was in the asylum, because there is a flashback sequence in the early to mid 70s where a bunch of kids are playing football, and they see this guy with a white van who offers them candy, and all the kids jump in for the candy. And then one of the kids is like, "Oh, I don't know, Mom said never to do that." And the guy just chloroforms the kid and throws him in the van. And the other kids are like, "Well, what's wrong with him?" And he's like, he goes, he's sleeping. He'll wake up later, And so the name doesn't quite match up with the person who's sort of narrating this flashback, but it is this new security guard. And you kind of find that these ghosts at this asylum where he just started working are now have sort of followed him home to his residence. So that's one of your three. You also have a reporter whose mother used to work as a nurse at the asylum, and she was a witness and participant, though unwilling, because she only did it because it was her job, to some of the cruel treatment that was done, especially to the children at this asylum. And it is literally something that she has stayed silent about until she is on her deathbed, and begins to confess to her son, but doesn't quite finish before she dies. Later on, he actually has what he thinks, or what appears to be, an encounter with her spirit as she tries to finish this confession to him. So you got a very heavy supernatural bent on this. Now, the man whose mother, who was the nurse who has passed, the day she passes away, he also learns that he's being let go from his job of 31 years as a writer for a local newspaper.
Oh, my.
And he has one last story, one last lead that he can write before he retires. So he makes Crownsville the focus of his story. Throw in a veteran police detective who also knows the reporter, who is basically very much occupied with the rising young crime rate due to gang violence in and around Annapolis and Baltimore, Maryland area. And you basically have two guys who want to, who are truth seekers, who are now going to team up to investigate Crownsville. And at some point, the security guard, his story is going to intersect with them, obviously. So it is Tropesville. Right? There is so many tropes in this for horror movies, suspense, with that historical backdrop. I ate it up. I loved it. It really hit those sweet spots for me. And what I also really loved was the art style.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that.
So very, very muted colors, very very surreal, almost David Lynchian. This is when the one character, Paul, does encounter the spirit of his mother, and you see the color change in there versus some of the other So
Yeah.
what I really like is that it sort of reflects this sort of depressed world. Where this isn't a bright, sunny story, right? This is a
Mhm.
dark tale, and the art style and the colors match it perfectly, and it just really gives you that mood and a very almost claustrophobic feel. And it really reminds me a lot of Dave McKean's art on Arkham Asylum, which is a great story about a fictional mental asylum. So my comic reader association really, really lined up with what they're trying to put
Nice.
across here. So I really dug it. Like I said, it's a 5-issue miniseries. It is a pretty chunky issue,
Okay.
and it is only $4.99. I know some of Oni's other books have been coming in at a bit of a higher price point, but this is great. This is definitely well worth your time, well worth your money, and I'm kind of in for the 5 issues on this because I really
Ah,
like this setup. So.
check it out, gang. Crownsville by Oni Press. Okay, my turn. Yeah, there were books, and anybody who knows me knows me. I just don't like anything that's anthropomorphic at all, except if you're like a John Wick style dog killing machine.
You do like a
Then
good dog with a gun story.
yeah, that was fucking fantastic. But anything like Feral or anything like that, even though I hear nothing but good things about it, I can't pull the trigger. But that dog, I don't know. The coverage has got to me because the dog is just half cybernetic, which is fantastic. I just needed to see what this was about. Yeah, so from Ahoy Comics, I think the last thing that I read from Ahoy was Wronged Earth, which is what if Batman 89 ran into Batman 66 kind of thing, which was an absolutely awesome freaking book. Yeah, I think that's the last thing I read from it. I think they have like a Toxic Avengers or Team Toxic book out now. They did Second Coming, which is like a Jesus Christ book coming down to Earth and seeing what the hell is going on down here, kind of thing. But yeah, they're been around for quite a bit. Their catalog is not as huge as other people, but sometimes they put out some really interesting stuff. So Dead Dog. So the creative team on this is writer is or written by Bryce Eggman. The artist is Alan Robinson. Colorist is Paul Little, and then letters by Rob Steen. Yes, I have a dog. I love dogs. So let me just put that out there. This book starts really effed up. Dogs are extinct. I do not want to live in a world where dogs do not exist. I love my little freaking Yorkie. Yeah, so just the style of art is really cute. I think it works for this book. The story I think is darker than the art. So there's sort of like this thing that happens in my brain where it's like if a dog mauled somebody, but like in a Disney style art, that would mess me up. Even though it's like the dog is just mauling somebody to death, I could still look at it because it looks cute in that respect. So the art here is a little bit lighter on that. But basically, you have at the very beginning of this book, because I'm jumping all over the place, is dogs are extinct. And it's sort of like this little mini commercial saying, don't you miss dogs? What if you can go back and have one? I wish they would have say like the DNA so that we could clone them, but they can't. So they create these robotic companions. And each one of the companions is taught 100 words. So they're able to use these 100 words, so dogs that can communicate. And then there's this little one in the corner. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a little Pomeranian. Out of the 100 words, potato is the one that it uses the most, which is hilarious. So basically, you have sort of like, yeah, you companions that you can buy now that are dogs that are autonomous, and they do everything a dog can do. But then what ends up happening is this military contract buys out that company that makes them. So what they're doing is they're decommissioning all those dogs. So nobody can have a personal autonomous dog anymore because they're going to create these military dogs that basically are used for security for like different buildings and whoever can afford to have them. And you sort of have these two scientists that are decommissioning one of the last ones, and they're looking at the Pomeranian and stuff like that. And then talking about how sad it is that the company sold out and they shouldn't have sold out. And as you can see, it was really sad because you can see that they're pushing the lever into the back of the dog's neck that shuts him down. And the last thing that he says is "friend." That shit almost made me cry. And she said, but the one doctor asked the other doctor if they believe in reincarnation, and he goes, I'm an atheist, blah blah. And she whispers something in his ear. We can't hear it. And then it jumps forward. So it jumps forward a year, and then you basically have, which is really cool, right? You have this little kid that's underneath this huge death dog, is what they call them. And they're basically these guard dogs for these shopping chains or whoever can afford them or whatever they do. And they're autonomous. They're like RoboCop dogs, where they just uphold their protocols and stuff like that. And basically, the dog is giving him a choice to hold out one hand because he stole something. Mm-hmm. So he says, choose your hand. You have 10 seconds, or I'm going to choose it for you. Mm-hmm. So basically, he's going to bite his hand off. And he's given the choice of which hand to bite, which is absolutely insane. And what's even more crazy is that people are so used to it that there's a crowd that's just taking fucking photos of what's going on and video, and they're cheering, choose, which was insane. And then he puts his hand in the dog, the mouth of the dog, and all of a sudden something happens to the dog. Something gets triggered, and then instead of biting his hand off, it licks it. So something happened to the dog, and now the dog wants to be his best friend. And the one thing that he says as soon as he starts to chase him down is potato. So this is a year after they decommissioned all those dogs. Don't know what happened. I'm assuming coding got triggered, that maybe one of the doctors had placed inside, or at this point I'm inferring a lot of information that is probably not there. But the fact that he did say potato lets me know that programming from that little Pomeranian is probably in his dog. So he's trying to get away from him, and he's chasing him down. And then basically what we do is we end up back in this neighborhood where you have sort of like this guy that's coming out that looks at him and says, you don't look like you take drugs or whatever, and wants to siphon some of his blood. He wants to buy some of his blood, or he wants to buy part of his body, because people buy stuff in the future. You can actually buy body parts from people. Which is insane. Kid says, no, F off, fuck you. I don't want that to happen. Guy's trying to beat him up. The dog come and saves his ass by freaking literally biting off the hand of that guy. Oh, so you see blood on the floor, and then his hand's there and stuff like that. And then it just kind of like ends there. And then the dog just says potato at the end, which was fantastic. So I don't know if it's an ongoing. I'll try looking into it. I wouldn't imagine. I think they do minis as well, like 6 issues and stuff like that, 4 to 6 issues. So I would assume that this is one of those. But yeah, it's funny because it's just like it could be graphic at some points, but it's not graphic, or it's not drawn in a way where you're like squeamish. It's just like, oh, that's pretty cool. But someone's hand is on the floor and he's screaming, but just saying, oh, that looks cool, kind of thing. So yeah, so I think the art style itself is really great. It's almost like it's lighter than the actual darkness of what's going on in the story. But I think it complements it. It's pretty cool. And then they have sort of like this little mini commercial on the side over here. Pappy Jeffs talking about, if you're going to steal from our stores, be prepared. And then you see one of those death dogs, and you see just him biting his freaking hand off from the thief who's trying to steal a steak. Yeah, because you're going to walk into a supermarket to steal a steak. Crikey. But overall, yeah, listen, the story moved along really well. The time jumps didn't bother me. It kind of just moved the story along. You got what you got. Now you have sort of like this dog who's, I guess, has some kind of glitch, but now is a loyal friend to the boy. So we'll see what happens after that, because I'm assuming there has to be some either like death dog police that go around fixing or decommissioning defective dogs. That's what I'm assuming this where the story's going to go. But yeah, if you like doggies and you want to see doggies rip off hands, give Death Dog from Ohio Comics a go. I liked it. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep with it.
Nice.
All right, you're up. Last one,
All
right?
right, yeah. So this is another new one from a new company started by Jamie S. Rich, who was a big editor for a lot of other companies, including the Big Two in the past. And he has started Ignition Press, and this is called No Place, or No Place, and I'll get to that in a second. No Place is written by Tim Seeley, uh, art and colors by Stefano Simeone, lettered by And World Design, edited by Maggie Howell, and book and logo design by Scott Newman. And again, one of the things that's kind of interesting about Ignition Press, and Jamie Rich, if you're listening, come on the show. Let's interview you and talk about Ignition Press, mainly so that you can explain to me exactly what to do with these little code on the back of each book. Every book is individually numbered. Every single copy of every
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Ignition has a different little number here. I had gone to the website to see what I could do with that code with the previous Ignition book that I reviewed, but I couldn't figure it out. So yeah, I would love to know what to do with that. I do think it's a neat little gimmick, though. I guess if somebody ever steals my copy of No Place #1, I could track it
What
down.
it is.
I could track it down by the serial number on the back, 5944. So let's get into it. Again, this is another trope-heavy book, very common trope in comics as well as just fiction in general, is to take existing fictional stories and kind of put them all into one world together, like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, or certain things like, was it Something Epic that Simon Gudransky did, kind of did a little bit of that. There was the guy who did White Knight, Sean Patrick Murphy, right? He had that Plot Holes, very similar aesthetic, where it's just basically all of fiction kind of exists in this sort of same thing. And so what No Place stands for is Nether Operations Place. And what that means is any sort of Alice in Wonderland, Gulliver's Travels, Wizard of Oz type story where someone from this reality goes into this fictional reality or this fantastical reality. These are actually real dimensions that do exist. And the Nether Operations Place is sort of there when these wholesome lands are corrupted by darkness. The No Place, their job is they can't really fix the place once it's corrupted by darkness, but they can hold it back from infecting our reality. And so you're kind of dropped into the story. It's sort of fun because it's like the story after the story, right? Where you have this young girl, Mariposa Montiel, who went missing when she was a child. Everyone thought she had been abducted. She reemerges several years later. She's now 18, and she basically tells everybody, and there's a whole press conference and everything that you don't see, but you hear about. You get all this information sort of after the fact, that she was brought to this other land, this fantasy land, and she was sort of the hero of that land. She was able to successfully, as a child, stave off the darkness from invading this very colorful fantasy-filled land. And when she comes back and has the press conference, apparently, she has evidence. She has this specific feather from a tiger bird that she had plucked from this tiger that has wings, apparently, that she learned to ride, and she plucks this feather, and that's the one piece of evidence that she brings back with her. At this press conference, nobody believes her, and I guess in her frustration, she actually vomits up this sort of ectoplasm tar and feathering thing, and just like kind of just apparently spewed it all on the non-believing reporters. And now her mother, who is a cleaner, is stuck with promising to clean all of the clothes of the people that her daughter did this to. And her father is like a livery driver, like an Uber or Lyft type driver. She is forced to work as a waitress at a diner, and almost every table that she goes to service, they recognize her and they rip into her and they make fun of her, and so she's always passing her tables on to her coworker. And that's very much is a big workplace frustration that she's creating for herself. So all of her backstory, it's just talked about. Even that press conference, it's all just sort of talked about. And you kind of, in the first few pages, you're sort of like, okay, is this girl for real or whatnot? But then that land that she was at, one of the denizens calls to her and says, you got to come back. You got to help us. But at the same time, there's somebody knocking at her door. And this is an agent of the No Place, the NO Place, saying, look, we need you to come with us so you can help us with what we do. And that is where she is sort of introduced to this concept of an agency that is tasked with keeping the darkness from these other lands away from our reality. And the director of the Nether operations is none other than Dorothy Gale from Wizard of Oz. So yeah, it's sort of bringing it all together. So it was really neat sort of setup. And, as things sort of progress in the first issue, you definitely see that, okay, there's the call to action where now Mariposa will actually have to help the No Place because the darkness has fully corrupted the land where she has come from. And she is there's a very tragic moment for her where she comes to this realization without giving any spoilers away. But it does, it's almost like if Harry Potter had to do something really bad to Dobby, so if you know that whole deal.
Yes.
So I liked it. I thought it was really cool. It is radically different from Crownsville as far as art style. So you could see just right from the splash page. Just very colorful, very sort of anime type style. One of the neat things is very little panels and borders. Everything just sort of breaks, which is really neat. It kind of helps put you into that. It is interesting, as far as you're not really seeing the hard line work. So it kind of reminds me of like when they were doing Salvador Larroca's art with pencils and then coloring that. But I thought it works really well for the material. That even gives the real world aspect a very surreal environment. So very animated.
They look cool. Almost like animation cells.
Very much like Across the Spider-Verse, as far as that kind of kinetic energy and things like that. So I thought it was really cool. Something really funny is how they do the logo on the title page. You can see actually how they have placed the logo from the cover on its side. And right there from the inside front cover, there's your first clue. Oz. Right.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, that's really neat. You tipped us off. I didn't even catch it at first. So No Place from Ignition Press. I'm really impressed with what they've been coming out with. They're really really interesting titles that they're putting out there. So it's a great new company. Another $4.99 issue. Nice cardstock cover. Really nice glossy pages. So give it a shot. No Place awesome. Number 1. Tim Skilly from Hack Slash.
Love him.
He knows what he's doing.
What was I reading of his superhero book?
Local Man.
Yes. Man, I want that book to come back.
Yeah.
I know they're on hiatus for a while, but they'll definitely bring it back, which would be fantastic. All right, there you go, gang. You got yourself 3 books. That Dog from Ohe Comics. You got No Place by Ignition Press and Crownsville by Oni Press. And we will definitely have stuff to talk about next week that I'm excited about. Even if there's no hands or feet. Screw you guys. All right,
and last I checked, Rob does still have both his hands and feet, by the way.
You know what? I don't know if you're right on that. Yeah, you are. All right, guys. Again, really quickly before we head out, if you want to head over, support our Kickstarter, go to projectshadowbreed.com. We've got just about a month left. We're really looking forward to getting this into people's hands. So projectshadowbreed.com. Check that out. What do we got going on? All right. If you like what you heard, yes, subscribe to the podcast. Better yet, tell 100 of your friends to just come and join us every Monday, where we love to talk about comics all the time. If you're a creator, want to chat about you and or your project that you have coming up, just go over to indiecreatorcomics.com, hit the tab that says podcast form, fill it out. The little fairies in the email kingdom will send us your information, and John and I would love to have you on just to have a chat. Last but not least, please support local comic shops, because without them, we would not be able to get our favorite reads. John, where do you get your comics from?
Well, I get my comics at The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And at The Joker's Child, not only do we have comics by the big two, but we got comics by the publishers that we just talked about. Not just the books we talked about today, but we have all the titles from Oni Press, Ignition Press, and Ahoy. So come on down to The Joker's Child and pick up these books that we talked about. Pick up some other books that maybe we didn't talk about, and you could tell us to talk about them. If you can't get to The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, please patronize your local comic shop. Tell them, I want titles from Ignition Press and Oni Press and Ahoy Comics. And if they say we don't carry them, tell them, well, if you want my money, you should carry them. And they say, that's too much work. Then you know what? Just throw your cold hard cash at your local comic shop retailer, because nothing gets anything done faster than throwing cold hard cash at anybody. So Please support your local comic shop with your cold hard cash.
Ask all the stripper bars. They will tell you that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Until next time, kiddies. Yes, we are the Indie Comics Creator Podcast, and we are all about independent comics. Ooh.